Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dirt Hub All British Motocross Podcast with myself, Ben Rumbold, and Dirt Hub founder and owner Paul Ooten. We are welcoming you to the new year, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody out there, motocross fans. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll just run through a few things coming up. We've got a bit of a special going on here now with regards to women's motocross. So we'll talk to a few riders there, a couple of people there involved at the hub of that world. And then we'll set things out for you so you know when your podcasts are coming for the next few weeks there. So, Paul, great to start off the new season, if you like, the new year. The new season is around the corner, and looking good for 2026. Really exciting times ahead.
Took a little bit of time for us to crank up the wheel. I've just looked, and it's actually 3 weeks into the new year. So we get around to doing a pod, but like I said, it's getting closer. Everything is getting closer and closer now to race action happening. So how many weeks? We can only be, 3 and a bit weeks away from the Hawkston International.
Weekend after next is obviously AMA Supercross has already started, but week after next is Arena Cross at Birmingham, so that's going to be fantastic. We've got a great lineup for that, and also we're going to have the Dirt Store team there as well. Let's get to meet the fans. So that's Tommy Searle, Ben Watson, Billy Askew. They're going to be meeting fans, not riding, but they are going to be there meeting fans as well as all the Arena Cross riders at that great fan zone thing they've got set up from 4 o'clock on the Saturday. So that's going to be really cool down at the NEC in Birmingham. And then 2 weeks on from that, we've got the usual double header. We've got Arena Cross and Hawkston International at the same weekend. Belfast for the Arena Cross, but Hawkston Park International is looking absolutely stunning. Cannot wait for it. I finally got the job of being on the microphone. I can't wait to be the commentator for that one. And we got 7 world champions at that race. The first time ever they got MXGP and MX2 world champions, the reigning champions, both of them at the same event. And wow, I'm buzzing for that one already, as you can tell. And then just 2 weeks on from that, 3 weeks on from that, we've got the start of the GP season, and on we go.
I know, mate. It's going to come thick and fast, and as we said, podcasts are going to come thick and fast. We're going to be every week going with previews, post race shows. We got a full schedule lined up. Like, you're not going to know what's hit you, mate, to be honest, because you're flying in and out of everywhere. But I know you don't like it any other way, really.
Yeah, it's nice to be flat out. We've had a good winter. It's not been bad. But for sure, we got the Arena Cross preview podcast coming next week. We'll have the reaction after that as well, and then we'll build up to the start of obviously build up to Hawkstone and Belfast. We'll have a preview and a review podcast each side of that, and then of course it goes on to the MXGP preview and the British Championship as well. We're going to build things up, aren't we? We're going to do class by class a preview of all the classes as we go through towards the start of the year, which will be March 15th at Hawkstone as well. So that's going to be fantastic.
Going all out on the previews, mate. All out on the predictions as well. I've got to keep my title, to be honest. I think they should have done a little trophy, to be fair. I think I need something. I haven't had my curry, by the way. Anybody wants to know about that?
Yeah.
He's not plumped up. So, it goes very quiet when that gets mentioned.
We'll sort it. We will sort it. Don't worry.
But anyway, the bragging rights are more important than the curry. So so going back to Hawkston, though, we did post out one of your little questions, which I know you like doing, was when was the last time 2 current world champions raced at the Hawkston International? And I realised we didn't actually answer the question. So over to you, Ben. When was it?
Okay. People have said to me a couple of things online. It was 2004. So we had all 3. So we had Stefan Everett, who was a big fan of Hawkston International, still is. He's still regularly there with whoever he's training at the time. We had Stefan Everett, and we also had Steve Ramon. So those were the 2 reigning champions in 250 and 125. Oh, sorry. It was the first year of MXGP in 2003. Steve Ramon was a reigning 125 world champion. And then Joel Smets, who was the reigning 650 championship, the only time it was called that in 2003. He also showed up at Hawkston Park. So we had 3 reigning world champions turn up then. But since then, with the MX2 guys, Ben Townley didn't ride it when he was reigning champion in MX2. And then since then, Antonio Caroli, he's never raced the Hawkston International. And then, we've either had one or the other. Jeffrey Hurling's obviously came through many times. Tim Geiser's never rode it. But yeah, so since 2004, since the inception of the MX2 Grand Prix category, it's never happened that we've never had the reigning champion from each class show up. And of course, they're racing separate classes, but I can't wait for that final super final at the end of the day when they're all together. To see if anybody can catch Langenfelder and whoever else might be in that class. Going to be an absolute corker. Can't wait for it. But yeah, so answer to that question: 2004, Steve Ramon, Stefan Everett, and also Joel Smets.
You're commentating. How are you going to control yourself if they both have the number one plate on their bike? Because I know this is a huge thing for you, right? If one of them has a number one, right, you'll probably wet yourself. What happens if two of them run a number one? Or they've got a little sign in the corner.
Like I'm not that excited about it. No, we know Langenfelder's running it. That's a fact. Yeah, he is. He has showed lots of footage of his number one jersey and plate, which is great. I just think it's just the champion should run number one. I know very few people who disagree with me on that. But it looks like because Romain Fevre released shots of his new shot gear, his new race gear for 26, and the bike in the background had the number 3 on it. So I don't know. I think if it's me, I'd run number one. But there we go. We'll see. Hopefully they will both run number one. But if they don't, whatever. I mean, it's still just going to be. I'm barely going to contain myself anyway. I'm going to tell the guys doing the sound just to sort of turn the input down because I will get loud and then it won't distort the audio because I will be fired up.
Fair play. No, it's going to be exciting. I'm always look forward to Hawkston International. Even more so, it's going to be this year. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about all of it. I am really excited about the British Women's Motocross Championship as well, and that is what we're going to talk about today, because there's been a real concerted effort from the ACU, from Pippa Laverty, who's coming on the show in a second, to really push women's motocross and women's sport across the board in the UK. You know, it's happening in Speedway, not quite gone on to grass track yet, but enduro, obviously very much so. We have some fantastic enduro riders in this country. So yeah, no, it's really exciting to see what is coming about there in women's motocross in the UK. We've got Lucy Barker, multiple time European champion, and was pushing at the sharp end right at the end of the WMX World Championship. So yeah, we have some talent, and I think it's really exciting to see it. Talking of that, one of the championships that did run women's motocross, the Acerbis Nationals, unfortunately is not going to be running in 2026, which is a big loss to British motocross. And it's difficult, and we said this previously. You know, on the one hand, we have lost this service for certainly a year due to lack of entries. On the other hand, we've got the AMCA probably having the best amount of registration since Dirt Hub began. The Nora 92 British Cup has pretty much put the sold out signs up. The Bridgestone Masters, the MXG Clubman and Youth, you know, a lot of, and the British Championships itself, it looks like, you know, there's the full 50 in MX2 and 125. So yeah, it's a difficult one, you know, because, you know, we have lost a couple of championships in recent years, but the ones we have got seem to be doing well. So that's good. But from the women's side, the Acerbis was always a very good championship for those. But, you know, the AMCA and the Nora 92 do also run that. But what hopefully that means is that, you know, we can, you know, there's 3 good championships now for the women, and there is that pinnacle of a British title. And hopefully that will get the numbers in and we can start to really see that building, because as I said to you, Ben, Howard Marriott, got to give a lot of credibility to Howard Marriott, who run the BWMA. Hasn't run it for probably 3 or 4 years, I don't think, but previously he did a fantastic job of running that, and there was some really good numbers, and you can see that a lot of those women riders aren't racing now. So if some of them can be pulled back into the sport, it will be great.
Yeah, I mean, in general, not just in the women's game, I think it's been a topic that's come up a lot, and certainly in online conversation and even just paddock talk. That people saying that there are too many British Championships, too many series, if you like. So they've now kind of got their wish, these guys, because the amateur nationals are sadly going. However, yes, if you've then got you've got one less clashing championship, then the other championships are looking to flourish, which is fantastic. I mean, you want to go to an AMCA championship and have full lineups. Has been a staple of the sport since before I started, in the 90s and 80s. But yeah, for sure, it's a shame. But if the championships that exist have got full gates, then all the better. Let's just hope that these championships do continue. With regards to the women's game, then yeah, for sure. We've got somebody at the top end now with Lucy Barker, and not to pin all our hopes on one rider, but she's got a real chance of threatening for podiums and threatening at the sharp end, which we haven't had for perhaps since it started. We had Natalie Kane, who was Northern Irish, but was obviously flying the flag. So from that side, it's good to have somebody at the pinnacle as an inspiration. And then, we'll see people come through from there. So, yeah, a teenage British champion as we have got in Libby Chatburn is great as well. And, who knows, how many families come to races and how many families have got that sister who just stays in the van? Well, now they might be inspired to actually get some kit on themselves. So, there is that side of it where if you inspire the younger generation, they're going to come on. And to have these championships ready to accept them and all the incentives that Pippa Laverty talks about in her interview come up. It can only be healthy. If we cut off the women's game, the potential for the market is diminished. So let's help the industry and bring more riders in. It's just such an obvious caption if we really think about it. If women could fight in the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship, one of the most masculine sports out there, then why can't they race motocross? Why can't they be as healthy as that? Because, the UFC have superstars of the women's game. And, motocross has started to build that. Lotte van Drunen is a real example of how you can make that a top career. I think the World Championship needs more rounds. Anybody that talks to me in that world, I would push to get to double figures at least. We got 20 GPs, but only 6 women's rounds. I think that needs to at least, ideally, I think it should double. You don't want to make it too expensive, but ideally, I think 6 rounds is too small. So, but yeah, it's only going to happen if you get more and more riders going in. So that's what hopefully we're going to find now in the British game.
Yeah, and we will be chatting to our British champ Libby as well. Libby Chatburn, she's going to be on in a little bit as well. And from the grassroots side of it, and I always say it, but there is a massive amount of girls riding at the lower down level at the moment, and coming through on Revies, on sort of electric bikes, on 50s and 65s. And it's not just the girls, to be fair, that level of our sport at the moment is thriving. And anybody that thinks our sport is struggling in this country just needs to take a look at the amount of new clubs, and great clubs as well, that are running kids races, and they are packed. And there is one hell of a lot of girls and one hell of a lot of talented girls coming through those. So, I think with what the ACU are doing, what the Nora 92 Cup are doing, all of the MCA championships, if we've got this feeder coming through, then it's really going to bode well for the future, because, there is certainly plenty of young riders starting out in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, several times I've commentated at the EXGB and the little electric bike races there for the kids. Several times you've had all female podiums. The girls at the sharp end have been really quick on these electric bikes. So if that filters through to the top to the powered bikes, then yeah, we've got a healthy foundation. But then we need to welcome them into their own class once it gets a little bit too difficult against the boys, and once it gets to teenage years. I mean, that's when you see drop off in participation across the board, obviously, because life gets a bit more complicated. But if you have a championship ready to accept these girls and these young women, then you're going to convert much more of them to carry on and keep on racing. So that's what we want.
Cool. Well, let's catch up with Pippa Laverty then, who is the ambassador for women's motorsport for the ACU, doing a fantastic job as well. So let's catch up with Pippa and find out her thoughts and plans on women's motocross in the UK. Okay, so I'm joined on the show by Ambassador for ACU Women, Pippa Laverty. Welcome to the show, Pippa.
Oh, thanks, Paul. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, and a lot going on in your world. A lot of positivity, which is really nice. But before we hit on to that, yeah, just give us a bit of an intro into, your background and your role with the ACU.
Yeah, sure. So I actually started working with the ACU a couple of years now, and it came from my work with the FIM Women's Commission, where with my husband racing in World Superbikes in the past, once his career started to wind down, I started working closely with the FIM Women's Commission on all like global initiatives. And it really opened my eyes to the off-road world and all of the different opportunities that there are. And I was quite pleasantly surprised to see how many women's championships there were on a global stage. So then when I met Matthew Weir and Tim, the president of the ACU as well, it was really great to chat to them to say, what can we do on a national level? So they actually created this role for me to be able to lead on all of the women's initiatives in all the disciplines, because it's understandable that a lot of the sporting commissions in ACU have a priority list, but it's just essentially my job to sort of bump up certain things on the priority list to make sure that they're also included, which previously were possibly overlooked or just weren't supported well enough. So that's essentially my role now, is to work with the sporting commissions, the championships, and everyone involved to try and increase the participation of women and make sure that those pathways are open and we all work together to see not just women increase, but like the industry increase as a whole. And we all sort of drive it in the same direction of getting everyone involved in the sport, not just riding in the sport, but also in the leadership side of things and also in the official side as well, because without the volunteers, the events wouldn't happen. So yeah, it's quite a diverse, varied role, but one that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, no, and that's good to hear. And, the big thing she said is about things coming together because, women's motocross in the UK has been quite split and quite fractured, really, in the fact that we've had the Acerbis, we've had the AMCA, and various championships all having it, and it sort of split the pool. But I think, with what's been happening with what you've been doing, and we crowned an ACU British champion last year, Libby Chatburn, which was fantastic, and with what you're doing with the youth classes as well, I think we're starting to get, a national championship, which is the focal point, which is what I think we've sort of needed for a little while.
Yeah, because when I looked into it, I'm a complete motocross rookie. So I looked at every discipline in the same way I'd approach anything, and that I need to learn it from the grassroots up and sort of see what historically they'd tried in the past and what worked, what didn't work. And honestly, it just seemed that when the ACU ran a women's championship in motocross, there wasn't really the consistency there. And I can see it from a promoter's point of view that if you don't get the numbers on the gates, then it's expensive to put on an event. However, if you say you're going to put on an event and then cancel it last minute, or say, oh yeah, we'll definitely do this, and then you turn up as a woman expecting to have your own race and you mixed in with the boys, that's naturally going to decrease the participation because there's that unreliability. So I've been working really closely with Steve McCauley, who's the director of the Motocross Commission for ACU, and he's been director for many years. So he's seen firsthand what's worked, what hasn't worked. And then also with the promoter, Colin, who is the Trial GB Youth promoter as well. And he just started with the ACU last year, and Steve had asked, oh, would you mind, doing the women's championship as well? So for the first year, they didn't really have many numbers because it wasn't really promoted well. And I don't think many really realised that that was the official women's championship. So again, we reviewed it. We said, okay, how can we get this out to the masses? First of all, something simple, having a logo and a social media presence is key. So we started that. Then the next thing was negotiating with Colin and Steve for the girls to have their own race, because we did this survey, which is so key and pivotal in getting the information from the riders directly as to what attracts them to participate in different championships. And we gathered all of that information and was able to say, okay, so they all want their own race, pretty much. There are a few that don't mind racing with the boys, and in fact, it brings them on. But as a whole, let's say it's nice for them to have their own race, a bit more visibility and a bit of support. And so that's what we've really sort of looked at. And last year was the first year I got to go to Culham, which was my first motocross event in the UK, which was really cool to see. And the participation was low, but during the winter time, we have really worked to try and promote the fact that there is an official British Women's Championship. If we get 15 registered females at the start of the season, they will be guaranteed their own race throughout the whole season. So even if participation drops slightly, they won't be mixed in with any of the other categories. It's all about how many register at the start of the year. So that was a key, really exciting moment, because we're almost there. I think there's only a couple of spots left. Then working with Steve and the commission and some partners and sponsors and different people who wanted to help the women's participation grow in the UK, we said, well, why don't we offer free £100 off their entry of their first round for the first 15. So then that hopefully encourages that first 15 to register at the start of the year. So then we can confirm 100% you're getting your own race. You can get discount off your first round, and that will hopefully start the wheels in motion to have a very strong start to the season, especially if at least 15 start off in the first round. We saw this happen in Enduro. We did this initiative there because there was only like 5 participants in Enduro. And so we did the first 10 will get their entry free up in Scotland. And then the participation for the year stayed in and around 10, because if you participate in the first round, you're most likely to commit to the rest of the season. So there's been so much work, and I've been really fortunate that Steve, Colin, and everybody involved have been extremely supportive, because they do truly want to see the women's participation grow. They want to see women compete abroad and fly the flag for Britain, which we haven't had, other than Lucy Barker, who's absolutely fantastic. But, we need to see more of that pathway, and this is the official pathway to go to European and Worlds, which I don't feel is well promoted either. So there's a lot going on, and I can't tell you how excited I am for the first round of the season. And every time Colin says we've had another registry, that's a step closer to like setting our goal. And then with the whole youth side as well, it was quite a challenge to sort of see what the gap was there, because obviously in the enduro, not enduro, sorry, in the motocross GB, MXGB Youth Championship, there's not many girls competing in that. So how can we introduce it there? But also, once they hit the ages of 13, 14, naturally there seems to be a big drop off in the sport. So how can we mitigate that drop off? So we thought, well, we'll create the youth championship so that they have their own race within the race with the women as well. So that's what we've done. And that came from a lot of research, because I had I'm really lucky that I have access to information from the FIM women on all of their other global federations, on what works globally in other national federations like Italy, Australia, Holland, all of these places where they have strong motocross riders. So we looked, reviewed, see what could be implemented in the UK around the rules and the regulations. So that's how then the Youth Championship came about. And yeah, it's going to be a really exciting season because I feel now the girls have their own platform to perform, and they are genuinely really supported by the promoter and also by the ACU Motocross Commission, which maybe it's not like they didn't in the past. I just feel that sometimes it's easy to overlook certain categories if you're not getting the participation. So it just took a little push from myself and some others to sort of be like, how about we make this a bit of a priority? So they've been very receptive and very supportive, and it's been really lovely to work with them, to be honest.
I think that's for myself looking in all off-road sports, the one thing I can see from the ACU in the last couple of years with Tim and Matthew is a little bit more long term, because I think our sport, certainly off-road, has been really like year to year, like we change this, we change that, that didn't work. Whereas I feel now there is long-term goals. There's not quite as much as everybody wants suddenly 30 women turning up on the line. It's not going to happen overnight, but that is the goal, 2 or 3 years down the line. And I feel now that, there's not that rush, that if there's not 30 this year, we're going to scrap it. And I like that, because everything takes time. And, like you said, there needs to be that path which you're putting into place. And I think it's really positive. And, we've seen, I said to you earlier, the BWMA, which was Howard Marriott, he did a really good job. And that was sort of an AMCA thing. And he did have quite a lot of support. And there were some good riders there, Chelsea Gowland being one of the standouts. Hopefully some of those will start to sort of, because I think when the BWMA sort of fell away, I think some of those riders fell away. Now, hopefully now they will see, what you guys are doing, and the fact that we have a GP in the UK as well, a WMX round, which is fantastic. And we can really get behind Lucy and any other riders that are going to be doing that. So, yeah, I think it's really good to have that path, and it's nice to see. And the other thing I was going to say is so I created and founded the Revy Cup, and we have seen so many girls. Sometimes it can be up to nearly 25% girls, and they are so good as well. So I do think that, the fact that there is this path now that they can look up to, I think is really, really strong. And I think, it's going to take 3 to 5 years. And I think, things are going to boom on that side. And and I think another one, Australia are very, very good at this. And we've also seen now in America that there is a showcase for the women's championship at SMX, which is unreal. So, yeah, it's really starting to bear fruit, isn't it?
100%. And I'm really lucky because the two people who are leading that in America and Australia are both colleagues of mine in the FIM Women's Commission. So I can call them up and be like, what's worked for you? What have you done? What barriers? How did you break them down? How did you convince people to, support this initiative? And it's Christina in America and then Alana in Australia. And they are so amazing and so encouraging, and they're like, just keep at it. It's like, it takes time, it takes consistency, and like you said, it's, especially for parents, because getting a child involved in any motorcycle sport is a challenge, and it is, even at motocross, it can be expensive. So you want to be able to make sure that whatever choices that you're making, that it's a well-supported pathway for them, because it's hard in motorsport for girls and boys. It's cutthroat, it's very challenging for in industry as a whole. But when you don't have a clear pathway, it's even harder. And if you don't have that supportive pathway, why would you get your kids involved in it from grassroots if you're like, well, at 13, 14, she's going to drop out of sport anyway because there's no real pathway for her, or there's no real encouragement for her to stay in the sport. And that's what we really need to change the mindset of. And there's a lot of work around the portrayal of women in the sport as well. Like we always see on posters, the boys, or even some clubs still call it the schoolboys. And it's like that immediately gives you the impression that you're not welcome as a girl in the sport because you don't recognize yourself in the posters or see any role models, and you're turning up to something that is schoolboys. So would you enter your boy into something that was schoolgirls? No, you probably wouldn't. And it's this sort of traditional concept that we need to start working on in the UK, that it needs to be more around the youth, around people being able to start off the sport in the revies and then be supported throughout and not drop off because there's no real place for them in the sport. And that's what I've really enjoyed, is because I am doing it for the people now, but I'm thinking of the next 10 generations. So like the kids who are coming in at the revy sport, you said there's like 25%. If I could even just get 10% of those girls to stay in the sport and grow up through the sport, then we'll have a thriving championship. And it's all a big ecosystem at the end of the day. And I know there's challenges because there's lots of different championships, and some girls enjoy riding for fun, some don't really like to be too competitive, others are really ambitious and they want to be British champion, they want to become European champion and world champion. So it's just trying to accommodate all of those different varieties of sport under the ACU umbrella, because ACU traditionally is the cream of the crop. It's like the British Championships and all the rest of it, but it's also so much more because we're starting to see more training academies. I've got a Kickstart program. I'm going to start it for women. I'm starting it off in trials, but it will be, that framework will then be copied across to have some motocross days. So if any women wanted to get involved in motocross but didn't know how, they could turn up to a Kickstart program. So it's all that promotion as well around how the governing body of motorcycle sport in the UK is trying to offer a well-rounded options for all levels of motorcycle racing, not just the absolute like pinnacle, and I think that's what's been the impression in the past. Oh, well, they don't care about us because we're not British champions. That's absolutely not true. Your governing body really cares about you and really cares about the safety of your sport, how you get into the sport, and how we can keep you in the sport and encourage you to go into all levels of the sport. So I think there's so many different messages around it, and it's just trying to, like you said at the start, pull together to really encourage that participation. Like I don't ride motocross, so I'm not doing it so that I could like go out and race, but I really enjoy putting on events or being clerk of the course and things like that. And I think there needs to be a spotlight shone on those roles as well, because we do focus a lot on the riding side of things, on the riders, and actually we need so many volunteers and so many different roles and so many different officials. Like that's also a huge opportunity for women in the sport as well. And I feel that now we've got our British Women's Championship, hopefully that can attract a female audience to come and see that, not just female, but also male audience. But then someone would be like, this is really cool. Like, how can I be a flag marshal? Or, how can I do this? Or how can I do that? And encourage more people to get into the sport as a whole. Now that women very much are seen like to be supported within that ecosystem of the sport, which I think is really, really important as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what like I said, I can really pick up from yourself and the ACU, this long-term goal that's not, like I said, we do want world and British champions, but everybody is a part of this. Something just fell off the shelf. Everybody's part of the ecosystem. Everybody's part of this sport. We're all part of it. We all need it to grow, whether we're practicing on a weekend or midweek, or we're a revy rider, or we want to be world champion. But like I said, that participation goal is something I think I don't think I've seen it from the ACU quite as much as I've seen recently, so it's really good. And I think one of the things I think, we're really lucky to have someone as good as Lucy, um, riding at the world level. And from my angle, I'd really like to see, those kids on the Revies and the 50s, somewhere along the line, especially because we have a GP at Foxhill. It would be really nice if there's some way, that there could be a link, because it would be great to see all those girls supporting Lucy at Foxhills.
Yeah, it's something, it's not confirmed, but it's something I'm going to ask at the Conference of Commissions, because FIM host a big conference where all of the different sporting commissions, and our women's commission is a beyond sport, so we help the sporting commissions essentially with women's initiatives. And I would love for example, I'm not sure if it's possible yet, so I don't want to make any promises, but I would love that anyone who's registered to be in the British Women's Championship for the full season will get the opportunity to come and do the track walk or get to do something at the GP, because there is nothing better than making memories of a home Grand Prix and getting to see your idol. So those girls could get to see Lucy like in a world championship race on home soil. That creates memories and inspires the next generation in such a huge way. So I'd love to try and work with the promoters and everybody involved to try and do something around that, because I can't remember the last time the WMX was actually in the UK. It was quite a while ago. It's not been recent anyway.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
So
I'm trying to think because I remember we had an Australian wildcard who rode for a British team, and I'm trying to think of what year that was because I remember writing the PR
yeah,
for it. Yeah, I have
because
to
as
find
well
out.
as like, not many people know that there's the European of Nations motocross for women, and any international team can take part as well, because there's not women's races included in the MX of Nations, but they do have the European of Nations, and we've never had a British team in it. So when I did a lot of data and I went down all of the different disciplines, like got multiple world champion in trials, multiple world champion in enduro, motocross has had a world championship for the same, if not longer amount of time than enduro, yet we've never had a British champion. That seems a bit strange to me, considering Britain is such a stronghold in motocross. So that would be like a goal for me to see, and that's what sort of generated this whole idea, is going from the grassroots up. How do we create that opportunity for that, like, which would be Lucy, because Lucy's our European champion, but how can we better support you, Lucy, as a federation to make it that next step, to make that next level, and not only that, but encourage the ones coming through as well, so that we could have multiple riders in the World Championship next year, like we do in enduro, like we do in trials. And Speedway is only new, yet we've got 2 or 3 in Speedway. So it would be really interesting to see like how we can really all work together to increase the level of the national championship, so that then we see more girls taking that path to European and World Championship races, and in some years to come, hopefully have a British World Champion would be the ultimate end goal, and a British Women's of Nations team, or in the Australian World Cup as well, because they have the Australian Women's World Cup, which again, different international teams send teams over. Europe didn't take part in it last year, but I would love to send a British team over to that, because to be able to go out to Australia, ride the tracks in Australia, meet the girls in Australia, see what they're doing there, that's all invaluable information. And that's something that, as the ACU being affiliated to the FIM, we should really be taking advantage of those opportunities, because it's only the ACU who has those opportunities to be able to do that. So yeah, it's all a lot of fun goals, but I think I have to take it step by step, and I always have to be aware to not overwhelm like the commission or overwhelm the promoter, because I understand like they're organizing a huge event, and this is like a part of the event. So although it's top of my priority list, I need to learn how and when to push the priority up the ladder, and when to just like sort of wait and be patient, because they have way more important things like needing to organize ambulances or needing to organize major infrastructure for the event to even go ahead. So it's a balancing act, but it's one that I really enjoy, and I can't wait for the British Championship to start at Fat Cats. I think it's going to be the first round, so I'm really excited to see how many girls we get taking part in that. And there's been a huge interest in the youth side as well, and how we can make sure that we're encouraging youth riders, but also making sure that they're not stepping up too early, so it's too dangerous for them. Because I know the British Championship MXGB youth is extremely competitive to get into, and I think there is actually a couple of girls racing in it this year. There hasn't been so much previously, but I would love to see more girls take part in the mixed categories up until the ages about 13, because it's only around the ages of 13 until you really see the boys make a step and the girls kind of stay where they are. And that ends up a lot of girls dropping out of the sport, because they go from competing against the guys being normal all the way from like 5 to 10, and then all of a sudden the boys hit puberty and they get super strength, and then the girls are sat there going, hang on a second, I was top three and now I'm like way back in the pack at like 16. So that's where the youth championship really sort of was an important factor to have that stepping stone from the really young youth to then that teenage youth to then go to the adult women. So we've done two big steps in a very short period of time before the season's even started. So I just hope that we can see that come into fruition at the start of the race and see a really exciting race happen. And then it'll only grow from there once everybody has confidence and belief in that the promoter is genuinely wanting to see this grow as well and support the women in their sport. So it's going to be super exciting for sure.
Cool. One more thing before I let you go. You said about the European Motocross of Nations, and that we haven't had a team in that at all, I don't think, for a lot of years, as far as I can remember. So there is a women's category. What are the chances of having a women's team this year?
We'll see by the first round. I have to actually see, because I'll find out at the Conference of Commissions, our FIM Europe representative will list all of their events. And I know the European of Nations didn't go, I think it got cancelled or something last minute, for one reason or another. So I just need to see what the date is. And if the date is later in the season, then at least we can get a couple of races under the belt, and then see if there's some way we can get the top three girls who are in the British Championship into a team and sent over there to represent the UK. It just comes down to funding, really, and trying to get sponsors in for it, because it's not cheap to send a team abroad. But again, the ACU have been really encouraging and really great with this initiative, with the £100 off their entry fee, which makes a huge difference to anyone participating. And I know everyone will be like, oh, well, why don't you do that with the other youth, or why don't you do that with the men's round? And it's like, because their grids are full. We don't need to do these initiatives to try and encourage people to join the sport if the grids are full with a waiting list. This is more of an initiative to try and get a smaller demographic more involved and more like consistently running in the championship, so that then it can be up and running and grow it in the same way that the MXGB youth categories and the adult category is as well. I personally would love to see the women's adult race in with the adult MXGB in the future, because that's what it is in Australia, in America, in other countries too. So I think it'd be really cool to see that in the future as well. because Colin has been absolutely fantastic to try and fit in the time schedule, the women's race. So I can understand that the more and more kids that take part in his championship, the more it's going to be challenging to fit everything into one day. So in 5 years' time, when we've got really large gates of people taking part in the women's championship, maybe we can then move to the adult championship. Who knows? That's another future goal I would love to sort of see happen.
Yeah, and I think that's a realistic one. And then just focusing on this year then, so where do people go if they want to register for the championship?
So they call Colin and Julie. If they go onto the MXGB Women's Facebook or Instagram account, on all of the posts at the bottom, I have the details of how to register. So they just need to call Julie. She'll send out the form and all the information. Julie is absolutely fantastic. She's like doing all of the work behind the scenes to make that championship happen and support Colin in it. So you just need to register, pay for your registry fee. And if you're one of the first 15 to register for the season, then it means you get £100 off your first round entry fee, which is great. So I'd get those entries in fast before you miss out on that opportunity.
That's it, getting fast. Well, thank you very much, Pippa, for coming on. We look forward to keeping up to date with the Women's Championship and covering it throughout the year. Like I say, Colin and Julie are doing a fantastic job with that and the Youth Championship, as is Paul with the British Motocross Championship. So, this show is about covering all of British Motocross. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes out. And, of course, being at Fox Hill as well to cheer on Lucy and touch wood, as many wild cards as we can get there for the WMX round. So, exciting times.
No, definitely exciting times. And I just want to say thanks for all your support as well, Paul. You always feature the Women's Championship on Dirt Hub and everything. So that makes a huge difference for women in the industry to actually be having that platform to be seen and to also showcase their accomplishments. So really appreciate that, Paul.
Thanks, Pippa. And yeah, let's look forward to some big success for women's motocross in the UK.
Yeah, great words from Pippa there. She really is a proper ambassador for the women's sport, isn't she? So, brilliant for her to be involved. And I mean, the FIM have been pushing things forward from the women's side of it, doing behind the gate for MXGP. We've now included WMX into those programs, so that's great to build a profile and see the characters behind the sport. And Lucy will have a spot on the next series of Behind the Gate, I promise you, especially with the women racing at Fox Hills, of course. So just to touch on that, I mean, Pippa wasn't sure when the last time it was that WMX raced in the UK, and it was 2020. When the women last raced, the very start of the 2020 season, of course, there in March before COVID hit. And Courtney Duncan won both races that day. But Neve Holmes and Catherine Booth, who have raced recently in the women's championships in the UK, they both scored points that day. Then you go back to 2015, you have the likes of Amy Goodlad, Stacey Fisher, Chelsea Gowland also scored points in 2013. But the big one was there 2013 at Massley. Natalie Kane won overall. She went 2-1 to beat no less than the record women's champion Chiara Fontanesi. So Natalie Kane was the first one to fly the flag for women's motocross in the British Isles. And but we've only had 4 WMX rounds in the UK, so it's great to have it back, which we will have at Fox Hills. And Lucy will be someone to cheer for there. She's great in sand. Maybe hardpack isn't her favourite, but she was getting top 4, top 5 results in both the sand of Arnhem and the hardpack of Turkey. So Lucy is certainly one to cheer for there. But Pippa also mentioned the Motocross of European Nations, to give it its official title. And this is basically a nations race. Now, the Coup de l'Avenir likes to be called the Youth Nations, but in truth, when it runs, and this has been a bit too intermittent in recent years, but the Motocross of European Nations is truly the Youth Nations, because it's not just in one country. It's not just in the same place every year, like the Coup de l'Avenir is. It moves across Europe, and it's basically the EMX 250 and EMX 125 riders. And there's an 85cc class as well. And then there's the women's Motocross of Nations runs alongside that. So it's a proper busy format, a real busy weekend, and you then have the pick of the European riders, youth riders, if you like, teenagers, and then the women's nations alongside it. So yeah, it's a pretty cool event, and yeah, Team GB has never sent anybody there, probably because it's not really covered that much. But yeah, hopefully in future they will run, and yeah, if we can get a women's team, Lucy Barker, Libby Chatburn, and so on, then fair play. Let's get them out there.
Yeah, that would be great, and I think that would be a fantastic incentive for our British riders. To say, the top riders in the British Championship are going to represent their country. What an amazing thing for someone like Libby to be able to do. Yeah, that would be amazing. So, yeah, I think that and riding in your GP, is something that everybody can aspire to, isn't it? So, and I think that is what is going to help bring riders on board and give real credibility to the British Championship, as well as maybe, if we can get those numbers up, running it alongside, the full British Motocross Championship, that would be unreal. I'd like to see that, even if it is 1 or 2 rounds, to put them in there. I think that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing to stop having the regular meetings there that Colin runs, the MXGB youth rounds, and maybe having a couple of women's races, not across the championship, but like having a couple of races featuring the women's class. So, if you've got at the height of summer when you've got longer days, you might be able to squeeze a women's race in. You never know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, yeah, certainly positive and going in the right direction. Yeah, we're going to move on, and we will chat to our British champion. So Libby Chatburn did chat with me, and yeah, let's forward on to the interview and see what she had to say. So I am joined by Libby Chatburn, who is the 2025 British Women's Motocross Champion. Welcome to the show, Libby.
Thank you.
So how's the off season been for you so far?
It's been good. Just been chilling. Been doing a bit of riding, but not too much.
No, that's cool. And I've seen that, in the off season, you've got to experience what it's like to be a national champion. The ACU did a big thing at Motorcycle Live, didn't they?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good experience. Obviously, we went and you could see all the stuff because it was obviously right in the middle of it. And then obviously people came to watch as we collected our trophies and stuff.
No, it's cool. And it's, we had a good chat previously with Pippa Laverty, who's a big part of driving women's motocross and sport in the UK. How have you found it, this year being a full season of British Championship racing? How's it been for you, both on the track and off the track?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Obviously, it was the first actual proper championship that I did for the women's, but I think it was pretty good because they actually involved the women's properly, and it wasn't just like pushed aside, and we actually got included.
Yeah, and I think that's like you said, the big thing, and that a lot of that come away from Pippa. So you're 17, so sort of only recently moved out of the youth ranks,
Yeah.
but now they've got the youth class as well. How helpful do you think that would have been for you, a couple of years ago?
I think it would have been really helpful because obviously you get pushed and stuff, but some people don't really like riding with the youth riders, but I kind of like it because you get pushed more.
Yeah, and I suppose from the other side of it as well, that it's going to bring those younger riders on a bit, so they're trying to sort of catch you guys too.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So 2026, another full championship for you guys. Looking like registrations are going well. Could do with, by the sounds of it, just a few more. What would you say to any sort of women's motocross rider that is thinking about getting involved in the championship?
I'd just say give it a go, and obviously if you don't like it, you don't have to do it, but obviously I'd just register and give it a go because obviously it's not all about winning. You have to just give it a go and see how you like it.
No, that's cool. And how have you found, being a British champion, and we talked about the ACU and the profile they've given you. How's it been for you in terms of, approaching sponsors and approaching people by, being able to say, you're the British champion?
It's been all right. We obviously we haven't got anything. We haven't really tried to get sponsors yet because we've got SJP and stuff, but we are looking for more sponsors. But obviously, it's just when people get back to us about it and stuff.
Yeah, not easy time for anybody, that is it, at the moment, getting sponsors. So, some of the other things coming up, there is going to be a GP round at Vauxhall, so a WMX round. Have you got plans to maybe get a wild card in that?
Yeah, we might be. It is on the cards, but we just don't know because obviously Fox isn't my style of track, so I don't know how well I'd do there. But we could be wild carding it, yeah.
Yeah, how much of an amazing experience would that be?
Yeah, it'd be really good.
Cool. And one of the other things that has been cropping up. So I've been involved with the Revy Cup, create that, and there's so many girls at the moment coming through the ranks there. Do you see that yourself? Do you see more and more girls getting involved from a younger age?
Yeah, I have been seeing it more. Obviously, when I first started, there was no girls at all, but I've been seeing more and more girls, definitely.
Yeah, that must be encouraging for you, being the British champion now, to be a bit of a role model, maybe.
Yeah, it's good to see because obviously I've tried so hard because obviously all I've done is race with boys, but seeing all these girls now, it is good.
No, that's cool. And the other thing that come up in a chat with Pippa, which is something that will be quite exciting for yourself, and the likes of Lucy Barker and with your competition really, is the fact that Pippa's quite keen on entering a WMX team, a Team GB one, in the European Motocross Nations. How cool would that be to represent your country?
Yeah, that would be really cool. Obviously, I'd love to be picked for that. Definitely.
Yeah, and again, it's more incentive, isn't it, for people to get involved, especially if how people are riding in the British Championship decides who makes the team. It's going to sort of add even more of a carrot, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Cool. And the other thing we were discussing as well, that the goal would be in the future that the women's races would to be part of the MXGB races with like the MX1 and the MX2. Again, something to look forward to, being the fact that you're young, you've got plenty of years in your career. That would be an exciting addition for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but obviously as well, people were speaking about having our own race because obviously last season we had to race with the MX1, I think it was, like the youth class. But obviously I don't mind riding with the boys, but I think that would be better if we rode on our own because more people would get booked in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And abroad, Australia and America now with the super motocross, there is some really good women's motocross scenes around the world. Do you follow much of that?
No, I don't really follow much of that, but obviously I am following a lot of Pippa's stuff, and she obviously does a lot of stuff with the women's and stuff, and I do follow that, but yeah.
No, that's cool. And as well as the women's British Championship, what other plans have you got for your 2026 season?
I'm thinking of doing the Nora Cup maybe. Obviously again the women's and maybe wildcarding a few other stuff like just obviously boys because I don't really know of many other championships that do a women's class, but obviously the Nora Cup is one that I'm thinking of doing as alongside the MXGB women's.
Yeah, that'd be good. They got some good. I think there's 4 rounds, isn't it, this year with that one? So yeah, always a good championship. Yeah. No, that's cool. And in terms of support, who supports you with your riding?
My main sponsor for this year again will be SJP, I think, for this year, and we're just looking for sponsors. Really, we are obviously it's hard to get sponsors, but we are still looking. But obviously, SJP is my main sponsor again for this year.
Cool. So yeah, and obviously targets for the season. I'm sure it's going to be to retain that title.
Yeah, I'm going again for the 2 times British champ this year, I think. and obviously I'm hoping that I can win it. Do it once, you can do it twice.
Yeah, so they always say that defending it is harder, but I think you might, you're a determined character. It's going to be a good battle. Like I said, I'm sure there's going to be quite a few more riders, which is going to make it really exciting to watch. But no, it's been great having you on the show. It's been great seeing the women's motocross championship really starting to gather pace in the UK, and we look forward to seeing you at the tracks again this year.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, great to hear from Libby there, and it's always good to have fresh blood in there. And of course, Libby, I saw her competing in the British Youth Championship a few years ago when I started commentating. So it's good to see her come through and take a British title. And long way may she ride forward, and she can get into WMX. That would be fantastic as well, because it'd be nice to have somebody else apart from Lucy in there, to be fair. So that would be really sweet. But a few exciting weeks ahead then, and of course, forgot to say, of course, a big thing about Hawkston is we've got Hurlings on the Honda, so that's going to be another fantastic attraction there. It's been good to see the footage of Jeffrey on the Honda online, and of course Tim Geiser on the Yamaha as well. Two big changes in the off season that are going to make MXGP all the more exciting. But first off, we got British Arena Cross, the Arena Cross Tour happening first. Birmingham, 31st of January. Going to be a hell of a weekend, that one.
Yeah, love Arena Cross. Hopefully it's going to be live streamed, in some way, shape or form. Hopefully not as expensive as last year, because that was quite dear, to be honest. Hopefully, maybe they revert back to what they did before and put it on YouTube for us all for free. That would be nice. But looking forward to it. Going to be very difficult to see anybody beat Dean Wilson, but you never do know, and we will delve into that. What's there going to be like, if we do a prediction for the Arena Cross show, we had curry on the motocross. What's it going to be, like a sandwich? It's only 2 rounds now, or 3 rounds, isn't it? So,
hey, I'll tell you what, we'll do the predictions, and the winner gets the local pizza delivery to get to the other's house.
That's cool. You can't back out of that. I like it. I like that commitment.
Balls on the wall.
Yeah, like that. You must fancy your chances.
I say we should do maybe top 5, because I think otherwise they might get a bit too obvious. But we'll see.
Okay, top 5 sounds good to me.
We should do that. Yeah, top 5 in the pro class. That's what we should do. So I'll research, and of course I'll be in the paddock, so I'll be able to give a few backhanders. I think we'll be cool.
That's the thing. You've got your stats. I can't compete with that.
It's really helped me. It's really helped me, hasn't it? Yeah, it's really the British Championship predictions were so spot on. Got all the stats, commentate on it, see every single lap, and still get all the predictions wrong.
All the gear, no idea,
You can't predict it. That's the joy of the sport. You can't predict it.
So I just have to go on raw instinct.
I go off when I tend to make predictions. I think I tend to go off hope. What I hope will happen. It'd be great if this happens. Try and find the best story. And the actual common sense of it all tends to go out the window. But there we go. Story of my life.
Spot on. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on the show. And we will basically catch you pretty much every week here on in.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We'll crank things up. Apologies to everybody. I saw a couple of people asking for a podcast. So that's great to have your support out there. And please keep listening. We will be making this much more regular. So thanks to yourself, Paul. Thanks to everyone for listening. My name is Ben Rumbold from Dirt Hub, All British Motocross Podcast. We'll speak to you very, very soon.